my smoke break and thought that now's a good time to have one of those conversations, talk about one of those experiences. And so while I walk around the neighborhood, I was just going to do that. I was going to do just that exactly. So this time I'm asking Spirit, well, what should I talk about? What they brought up was an experience I had with my business. It was surrounding my business. So I was in this location for business for a while, and when I started there was a hairdresser next door, and she was awesome. Got along with the whole family, her mom, her daughter, her grandson. Like, it was amazing connection and everything. Well, she moved to a better location, and then the building sat empty for a while. And when I had a new neighbor, I wasn't expecting what I got, because the old relationship with the previous business owner there, it was fantastic. And when I went to introduce myself, the lady did not have any receptivity towards me. I went to her door and I knocked on the door and I said, "Hi, I'm your neighbor. I'm Melinda. I want to introduce myself and, give you my number just in case we ever need to communicate." She said, "I don't need that. I have Jesus." I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "I don't want nothing you got to offer." I said, "You understand that Jesus can give us gifts in people too, right?" And she didn't want to hear it. So I left that alone. But I took the message, "You don't want to fuck with me. Okay, cool." I couldn't believe it, because I went with nothing but pure intention and kindness in my heart, but I was received with such an ugly energy. So that thing got really ugly at some points in the experience. At one point, the lady, I could hear her talking to her client as she was walking them in the morning. I was in my shop sitting right by the window, and I could hear everything. It was a very old building, one of the older buildings here in Vegas. It doesn't exist anymore. It's how old it was. But anyhow, I could hear her, "Oh, they do nails here. I wonder, are they any good? Blah, blah, blah." And I could just hear the lady. I don't remember exactly what she said, but she was hating. She was trying to block business. She was hating. She was hateful. Whatever she said, I just remember thinking, "Oh, you're going to pay for talking crap about me like that." Just thinking, the universe got my back. God's got my back. And whatever she said was not true. Another time, I was there with a buddy of mine, and our daughters were great friends at the time. And so we had both the girls with us, and we were just hanging out at the studio. And I heard a knock at the door, a frantic knock. So I came to the door very concerned. And Nevada is an open carry state. Back then, I did not have grandchildren, and so I was carrying a 9mm on my hip in a holster the way you're allowed to in the state. Well, I went to the back door, and it was a neighbor. And she had this disturbed look on her face. I said, "What's going on? Well, how can I help you?" I do remember what she said that day. She said, "I'm sick and tired of you having my name in your mouth." I said, "Excuse me, I don't even know your name." About that time, I realized she was here for some drama. So, I basically told her, "I don't know what the fuck your problem is with me. Is it my car? Is it my hair? Is it you can't afford my prices? What's the problem? Why you hating on me so hard? I ain't never done nothing to you." And she's threatening me like she wanted to fight me. So I'm thinking, I got a fucking gun on my hip. The last thing I need is for somebody to get accidentally killed over some bullshit. So while she's talking crazy to me, I decided to pull the gun out of my holster. And all I did was simply put it right where I was. It was a stand by the door that I could put it on. So I took it and put it far away from me on the stand so it wouldn't accidentally fire, and so that nobody could get hurt with it. So then as I'm looking at the situation, she starts yelling, "Oh, and now you trying to shoot me?" And I said, "I didn't pull the gun on you. The gun is sitting over there so that when we get into this fight right now, nobody gets hurt with it." I said, "I don't need no fucking gun for you." Mind you, this bitch is probably about that much taller than me because she built like a whole man. Anyways, so I'm peeping the situation. She didn't park her car correctly. She has a little funky weave in a funky braid. She's got tennis shoes on. I said, "Oh, she literally came here to fight with me." Okay. But I'm using my mouthpiece. I'm using my mouthpiece, and now that she's seen that I had a gun at my axis, she's calling the police on me. I said, "Go ahead, call them." I had to deal with the police that day. Police show up, and I'm looking. They're asking me for my personal information, and while he's asking for my personal information, I could see her personal information. Now I know her first, last name, and her address. Because I'm like, this bitch wants me, and she wants to hurt me. And she's bigger than a man. I might have to go to her house and tell her what time it is. But anyways, I digress. The police ended up, taking the clip out of the gun, locking it in my trunk of my car for me. And after hearing the experience and also the testimonies or eyewitness accounts from my buddy and the children, they just suggested that I get a surveillance camera for my business. So I did. Never really needed it. Ended up taking it down, and that was a financial loss at the end of the day because I didn't really need it. She was the only problem I ever had. Anyways, further into the future, I'm there coming to my studio one day, and I look because what's that on the ground by my door? And it's rubber gloves. It's rubber gloves sitting on the floor by my door. And I said, "Well, what's this?" Because when I looked at the gloves, I could see that just the palms of the gloves were black. I thought, that's weird. That's really freaking weird. But I stood there and talked shit because their door was open. And I knew I hadn't put that there. I said, "Who in the hell left these fucking dirty ass gloves here by my door?" I was like, their house probably looked like shit too, because they probably leave their garbage all. I was talking mad shit. I already know the girl was hating on me. She wanted to get me in trouble, blah, blah, blah. So I was running my mouthpiece like I know how. It was real short. I went inside, mind my business. By the time I finished my client, come outside for a smoke break, the gloves are gone. Still not thinking nothing of it. Not realizing what's happened. Maybe a week later, I had gone across the parking lot to go speak to my friends at the barbershop. And on my way back from my shop, I was walking at an angle. Usually when I come up to my door, it was a straight shot. But from the barbershop, it was an angled shot. So with that, I could see that there was something on the wall of my business. And it looked like swirled black stuff shoved into my wall. And when I saw it, I got an intuitive hit, and it reminded me that a while back when I came to my shop, there was a splatter on my back door. It really looked like somebody had taken a water bottle, ashed a bunch of cigarettes in it, and then shook it up and splattered it on my door. So I cleaned it up, still not thinking nothing. Well, now that I'm seeing these swirls on the back door, Spirit's showing me those gloves. And then I got the whole thing. I got the whole picture finally. The girl that had the shop next door had the gloves on. She's the one that threw the ash at the back door way prior to this. When that didn't work, she decided to rub it into the brick wall, and it was ash. So Spirit said, yeah, go look up spells using ashes. So I Googled it on my phone. And the first thing that came up was banishment spells. And I thought, wow. So here I go, click on it and read the information. And what do I find but a warning? it says, yes, use this spell to remove a person from the place that you use it. Okay. But it also said, but be very careful, because if it doesn't work, you will be the one removed. So I thought about it and I said, well, clearly she doesn't like me here. She's trying to get me out. I never approached her about it. I never really approached her again since that first day when I tried to make a friend, or at least a business associate, right? Now, further down the line in the future, this young lady I used to know, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, I used to do a lot of Bible studies, and she was one of my students, and she was a sweet girl, and she had decided to go do nails too. So she reached out to me. She wanted to know if she could come work with me at my studio. I said, yeah, but you're going to have to bring your business yourself. I'm like, and you're going to have to pay rent. So she decided to move into my studio. I want to say the first day she was there, she said, oh, there's a hair salon next door. Maybe we could feed each other business. She said, I'm going to go talk to her. I said, well, you could do whatever you want, but I just want to let you know that lady don't like me at all. And we've had beef. She said, well, that doesn't have nothing to do with me. I said, you're absolutely right. It should have nothing to do with you. So she went over there. And after a while, she came back. She said, wow, Melinda, I see what you mean. And I found out about some other issues that I had there. And I found out who did it, because that girl went next door to find out for me. Even though that we didn't know that's why she went over there. She went over there to try to build a business connection. But what she came back with, yeah, apparently her friend that does nails and her, they decided to try to get you out of here. And they were the ones that threw the rocks at your windows. I said, really? Okay. Because at one point, yeah, my front window was busted. There was nothing missing in my shop. And I was looking, there was 2 rocks on the floor. One of them had hit the space in between the windows. The other one actually broke the window. And when I saw the rocks, I remember having the vision of these people driving around the block a few times trying to hit the window and missing and going around the block again to do it again. Lord of mercy. So now I have figured it out. And come to find out, like, the girl also got the name of who was the nail tech friend of the neighbor that was really jealous, because that girl had actually called me at one point on my phone to talk shit. She said, my client said you were trying to take her away from me and you were trying to get her to come do her nails with you. And I said, well, how much do your clients pay? She said, usually about $50. I said, see, that's how I know it ain't true. Your client is lying, trying to start beef when there is none. Because first off, I don't do nails for $50. Her $50 ain't gonna get her nothing in my shop. I said, and second off, there's enough clients in this city for everybody. My clients ain't your clients, and your clients ain't my clients. So once I put it to her like that, I guess it made some kind of sense. Because her next move was to ask me, how you in those 3Ds? I said, are you serious right now? You just called me to talk shit. Now you want me to tell you how I do my art? I said, figure it out. Nobody told me how. Nobody taught me how. I figured it out by myself, and that was the end of the conversation. But because I said yes to the girl who wanted to try to work out of my shop, all the information was divulged to me about just how bad that lady's hatred was for me. And what I saw when Spirit had it all revealed for me was that they wanted to get me out of there so that her friend could get the place next door, blah, blah, blah. They they tried to do some black magic on my back door and do a banishment spell. So, yeah, all this stuff happens, and I just leave it alone. Well, one night, it was in the winter, and back then, I was still riding in my Cutlass. G-body, old school. So, you got to warm it up. Before I even locked up my shop, while I was cleaning up, I saw the neighbor leave. She left, so I didn't think too much of it. Went to my car after I finished cleaning up, warmed it up. That took, good 5 to 10 minutes to warm up my car. So now I'm figuring this has been about 20 minutes later when she's barely pulling out of the parking lot. And then the funniest thing happened, because remember, I have her address memorized in my head now. I said, this bitch gonna fuck with me, I'll come to her house and fuck her up. But whatever, I never did it. That was just the old mentality that don't want to die. So anyhow, as she pulls off right in front of me, about 20 minutes later after she left her shop, I said to myself, what's she still doing? I said, and it just like, it wasn't even a conversation in my head. It was an impulse. I followed her. And knowing her address and having looked it up on the map, I know where she lived. And I can see immediately that she knows I'm following her because she's making every wrong turn. As a matter of fact, the way she turned was down a wrong street where there was no outlet to that neighborhood. So she had to come out the same street she went into. It was so freaking hilarious. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, bitch, you don't like the thought of being threatened, huh? It's pretty scary, somebody following your ass. And I'm thinking to myself, if I was to come at you, like, you really wouldn't like it, because the gangster in me is pretty scary. But, I just want to let her know at that point, without saying a word, that you're not going to scare the fuck out of me. You're not going to chase me away. And yeah, I can be scary too, right? Without saying a word. So I followed her after she made about 3-4 wrong turns. And then I went about my business. Now, I had moved into that location in 2008. One of my first loyal clients that I got when I moved in was a retired firefighter. I call him Papa Chuck because he was sort of a father figure. He's an older man. And when I moved in, he told me, he said, the city of North Las Vegas been looking to tear this thing down forever. They hate this business plaza right here because it causes a lot of accidents, which made sense because it was like this little tiny 3-block long strip of business locations in the middle of the only part of this street that has 2 separate one-ways. In other words, it's one-way street on this side, and then the other block is the one-way street going the other way. So a lot of people would get messed up on that street and go the wrong way down the wrong side on the wrong street. Lord of mercy. And I did see accidents. As a matter of fact, while I was there, the unit next to me, I was so glad I wasn't on the end. Because the end unit, I watched it get crashed into 3 different times. So I say all that to say, ever since old man Chuck told me that, I always had it in my mind. And I would even tell my clients, one day, the city of North Las Vegas is going to buy this property and they're going to pay me to move out. I was there with my twins. Well, actually, back then, I just knew the one twin, Ashley. It was our second appointment. And I had already told her, one day, the city of North Las Vegas will pay me to move out, and then they'll tear down the whole building, and nobody will get my polka dots or my stripes or my mirrors. And while we were doing her nails, I was only there for the hour and a half it took to do her nails back then. She didn't get them as wild as she does now. We're up to like 3 and 4 hours a visit. Lord of mercy. But anyhow, the lawyer came knocking on the door. I said, wow, this is wild. He said, I'm from a lawyer representing the city of North Las Vegas. And North Las Vegas has purchased this property. It was for sale for quite a while. And they said that we're going to be paying you to move out. And, we can either pay for your new place for rent for up to however long, I forgot how long they said. In the new place, we'll pay part of the rent, or you could just get a lump sum and just close down and move out. Okay. It was really interesting, though, because That year, my daughter, around the time of my birthday, she said, Mom, this year you're 42 and I'm going to be 24. No, she said, this year I'm 24 and you're going to be 42 this year. She said, there's magic in that because the numbers were opposite, right? And I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. I wasn't thinking nothing of it when I said it. Surely wasn't thinking of it when the city of North Las Vegas lawyer came to visit. Well, they did the numbers. When the lawyer visited, he said, the maximum used to be 15,000, but last year we voted to raise it by 10,000. So now the maximum is 25,000. I was like, oh, that's great. Just in time for me. And I hurried up and I met all the requirements, moved out, cleaned up the place, submitted whatever paperwork I had. And I was the first one to be paid out at the new rate. And my check, I still have an image of it. Maybe I should share it. Evidence to support the experience. But anyhow, I still have a picture of the check for $24,042. And the point of this story is that bitch that tried to banish me did not get to get paid by the city of North Las Vegas because she was already gone. So there's a lot of magic in that experience. And yeah, I didn't know what to talk about, so I kept asking Spirit, what you said, go take a walk and tell a story. Because we had said we were going to start telling some of our personal experiences. So which one you want me to tell? Which story you want me to tell? And this was the one that came out. So there's a lot to glean from that experience. You know, people going to hate on you. Yo, gangster mentality could try to come out on you. Hold your position. Hold your position, baby. These people are not a threat. You know, that same day that girl came up to my shop, she was beating on the door, trying to make me shiver my timbers, and she ended up calling the police on me. I reached out to a few of my clients and I was like, this is what happened, because they already knew how the lady had been hating on me. You know, when we sit at the nail table, we talk about everything. Anyway, so a couple of the ladies came over. Well, on her way, one of my clients actually reached out to her aunt because her aunt went to school with this lady. And what her aunt told her was this. She said, that lady, she always likes to start a lot of shit. She likes to threaten people, but she don't never get in the fight. When it's time to fight, she's never there. She's just a big old bully. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm kind of the opposite. I don't like to fight. I don't want to talk stuff to you, but don't put me in a situation where I feel like I have to defend myself, because I will. And I always win whenever I have to fight because I've always been forced into it. I'm a Taurus, man. Yeah, if y'all didn't know, I'm a Taurus. All I want to do is lay in the grass, eat some food, and chill. That's all I want to do. But just like the bull, baby, if you mess with me, if you try to provoke me or make me see red, I will charge that ass. And I'm just glad that I was able to overcome that natural instinct that I have, because at the end of the day, I would have got myself in problems. I would have got myself into a whole bunch of shit. The story's not all the way over yet, though. Because when I moved locations after the city of North Las Vegas paid me to move out, in my new location, it was already a hair salon next door. So when I moved in, I did the same thing I had done before. Hi, I'm Melinda. I just moved in next door. Me and my daughter's opening a nail salon. I wanted to introduce myself to you. Here's my phone number in case you ever need me. Since we're neighbors, you know, we could kind of keep a lookout for each other and communicate freely, you know. If you ever need me, just hit me up anytime. This lady was also built like a man, about this tall. As a matter of fact, she might have been trans. But the fact of the matter is, she started calling me. She started using my number. And I felt good about that compared to that other experience, right? But she started using my number to complain about the music being too loud. And I didn't argue with her. We turned the music down for her several times on several different occasions. As a matter of fact, sometimes I wasn't even there and she would call me. My daughter would be there with her clients and she would call me to complain about the music. I would contact my daughter, Mija, can you turn the music down a little bit? Neighbor says it's too loud. Neighbor talking about, I can't even hear my own music and I'm in here trying to work and I got a headache from your music. And I was like, oh, Lord have mercy. At one point, we accidentally left the front door unlocked when one of my faithful long-term high-ticket loyal clientele came through. So I'm doing her nails. We're just getting started. And I hear the door open and I look up and it's the neighbor. And by this time, I had already had another experience where when I went to the landlord's office to pay my rent, the secretary informed me that my neighbor at the beauty salon had called to complain about my sound levels of my music. I said, well, did she complain about the barbershop? What about the bar? I said, there's nothing in my lease that says I can't play my music. I said, she's fucking tripping. I said, I guess get ready for her to call you a lot more because I'm not doing nothing about it. It was another experience. At one point, my daughter's inside with her client and a bunch of children, and she's calling me. She's freaking out. Mom, it's police knocking on the door. I said, well, don't answer it. You don't have to answer the door. Leave it be. They were in there with the music loud. She said the police went around to the back door. All the doors are locked. Nobody ever came. And the beautiful thing about my shop is there's a wall, so you can't see who's back there. You can't see anything back there. So they just stayed inside. I went and drove up there real quick. I was just at the house, which is only a few minutes away. When I pulled into the parking lot, the police were leaving. So before I went in my studio, I went and talked to the neighbors. I said, police come talk to you? They said no. Went to the other neighbor. Police come talk to you? No. Okay. I figured it out. The lady called the police on me at this place too, but about the sound level. Lord of mercy. So now I digress. Sitting there doing my client's nails, right? She come walking in the door, right? And she go try to tell me that I need to turn my music down. It's too loud. I said, why don't you go call the police? Or why don't you go call the office and tell them about it? I ain't doing shit for you no more. How dare you come in my shop and try to boss me around in front of my client? You're so disrespectful. I said, I ain't been nothing but nice to you, but I'm done. You want to try to get me in trouble? It's not working. You want to try to disrespect and piss me off? That's not going to work neither. I said, but I'm not taking your shit no more. I'll never turn my music down for you again. And you know what? Go ahead, call the office all you want to, because they don't care. Call the police, because they can't get in here. And they don't care. It's a business. I said, you get the fuck out of my shop and don't ever come back. She left. I locked the door behind her. And I thought, well, what the fuck did I do to attract the same type of bitch again? Lord of mercy. What's going on? I said, well, clearly there's something in my energy field. It needs to be worked on. It needs to be cleared. So I start thinking about all the spiritual tools I've gained and what can I do? And all I heard is what you resist persists. What you embrace, you can erase. I was like, oh, well, how can I embrace this? They said, pour some love on it. I said, you right. I've learned that before. How can I pour some love on this? Well, I love that she's a black woman in her own business. I love that for her. I love that she stands for what she thinks she should. And I love that, I have a business in this business plaza. And I love that she gave me a chance to stand up for myself and put my foot down or continue to be punked. And I didn't. So I love these facts. At one point, I was standing out front of my studio having a smoke break again. And this guy that I know from the karaoke circle here in Las Vegas, his brothers are both karaoke DJs, and I've attended a lot of karaoke that they did. But he walks up. He's a gay boy. Cool as fuck. Always speak. Very nice. I said, what are you doing here? Oh, I was coming to visit my sister's salon. Oh, your sister owns a salon? Talking about the bitch next door. He said, yeah. I said, oh, right on. I was like, I absolutely love her. I'm so grateful for her. She is really encouraging to know that she has a business there and, you know, got nothing but love for her. So he goes on about his business. Okay, well, we'll see you next time. It was very short and passing. Meanwhile, I've already found all the reasons why I'm grateful for her, explored that idea and left it in peace. She can get mad all she wants to. Let me tell you, one of the things she did one night to try to piss me off after I told her about herself at my shop, she left her shop with the music full blast all night long until her speaker died. Apparently, she had got a louder speaker. She bought a louder speaker because, you know, whatever she was working with before, she couldn't hear it. And so now she started playing. So she did it a few times, but this one time, she just left it on the whole night. So sometimes she would do it. We'd be there working. Oh, she's playing some good music. We turn it down. We turn ours off and just listen to her music. But that night that she left the music on all night, I knew it was just to spite me. And again, we just turned our music off. She actually left on a good playlist. Didn't bother us at all. Yeah. And she was gone. Before I knew it, the place was marked as vacant. But that was after I saw notices of the door. Notices on the door. Pay or vacate. Notices on the door. For the whole neighborhood to see. I said, Lord of mercy. Yeah, so the situation repeated itself. And the second time it happened, I didn't just leave it alone. I spoke up for myself. And then I found a way to cover it all over in love. Because, see, I learned a long time ago, if you can cover it over in love, what returns and grows for you will always be love. People are going to do all kinds of fucked up shit. People are going to try all kinds of fucked up shit. People are going to say all kinds of fucked up shit. And when you remember that none of that has anything to do with you, it helps you to detach from the experience emotionally and not get caught up. It helps one to be able to not react, but rather to respond intelligently. And it also helps you have the opportunity to have the experience to stand up for yourself. See, a lot of the people that are attracted to this channel have a similar issue of the one I've had, which has been being overly fucking submissive and too fucking nice to assholes and bitches that want nothing but destruction from me. Yeah, well, I'm not doing that no more. And when I tell you it worked twice, it worked twice. Well, it's worked a lot more times, but in this experience, for this live session of telling you some of my stories, it worked twice, right? Not only did I not go to jail, the bitch wanted me to go to jail. Both the bitches wanted me to go to jail, get a ticket, something. I didn't have those issues. I did not have those issues. And it wasn't because I didn't have the thought. I had the thought, trust me, especially with the first one. I was like, I'm just going to go bomb the bitch's car, and that way she'll figure it out to leave me the fuck alone. Maybe I'll just go catch her walking into her house. I'm telling you, the gangster in me still exists. It's still there. But it doesn't mean I'm going to follow through with it because I have more sense. I understand energy. I understand karma. I understand that none of the feelings and emotions that they have towards me has anything to do with me. All these things serve me well. And at the end of the day, I got paid to move to my new location. And at the end of the day, I'm still there and that bitch has disappeared and gone away. So maybe there's somebody who's watching this and you've got a bully in your life. Somebody that don't leave you the fuck alone. And you ain't done nothing wrong. Nothing I ever did in any of those experiences was illegal. It wasn't even morally wrong. It was just a hateful ass that want to try to pick a fight every time. Try to push your buttons and make you do something against yourself. Don't fall for the bullshit. Let a hater hate. Your haters make you greater. Their hate has nothing to do with you. It's their own inadequacies that they feel coming through. So I think we've told the whole story. I think that's all we were meant to say about this today. I will be doing this again. I don't know how soon. You know, if you know anything about me, I don't really follow a schedule. I fly by the seat of my pants with whatever the universe has for me today. But I'm always going to come back with another channeled message. And trust and believe that even the telling of this experience was a channeled message. It's always that way. I've uploaded some shorts for you this morning. And I do have time to do another live reading for you. So I'll be back with more. You come back too. Keep being great. Don't let nobody try to block you or scare you from doing you, from running your business, from running your life, and definitely not from protecting your pain and not accepting their strife, because that's what they want to do. These are miserable people who are very spiritually defunct. They don't got it going on like you do. And even if they don't recognize it consciously, the spirit of evil comes through in them to try to attack you. See, their goal is to make you leave your love alone. Their goal is to get you to become evil like them. But we don't have to fall for these tricks. We don't have to fall for those baits, right? We can see what it is, and we can act in harmony with what we are, instead of put on the suit of the clown that they wear. We'll stand in our suit of armor, our truth, and lose the idea that, you know, you always have to be the submissive one. You always have to be the peacekeeper. You always have to be the one to bend over backwards to try to make some jerk happy. See, yeah, thank you. They're showing me this TikTok that I had seen a few years ago, and the lady said, you know what your problem is? She said, you keep blessing people who do nothing but evil towards you. Stop being the blessing towards somebody who's been evil towards you. You don't have to, right? And you don't have to think that you're a bad person for defending yourself either. You don't have to be a bad person to speak your mind. What's wrong is wrong. What's evil is evil. And you're okay to stand up for yourself and have your say. So this is what I have for you at the moment. I am mixed race. What does that have anything to do with the message? I am mixed race. There is some Apache, there is some Spanish, there is some French, but it's 50% Korean from Seoul. I'm a Seoul girl. So thankful and grateful for your presence. I see my cat is here. Holden, welcome. John. And J4. Okay. I'll be back with a reading. Until next